A handful of Democrats are trying to fix America's increasingly polarizing Supreme Court nomination process. On Friday, Representative Khanna, a Democrat of California, released a draft bill introducing a number of reforms to the Supreme Court, including term limits for justices and changes to how presidents appoint them. Representatives Joe Kennedy, Democrat of Massachusetts, and Don Beyer, Democrat of Virginia, are expected to sponsor the bill along with Khanna, the chair of the House Progressive Caucus, when they formally introduce it next week. Among Khanna's proposals is an 18-year term limit for justices on the Supreme Court. Current justices wouldn't have to step down, but each president would get 2 appointments to the bench per term, regardless of how many justices there already are. Presidents would make their nominations during the first and third years of their terms, and the Senate would have to approve them as always. But if the Senate doesn't consider a nominee within 120 days, like what happened with former President Barack Obama's nominee Merrick Garland, they'd automatically join the court. Khanna's proposal doesn't actually suggest pushing the court beyond 9 justices. If a president's time to nominate comes up and the court is full, the longest service justice would become a senior justice with limited duties. They would also be rotated into service in lower courts and could rejoin the Supreme Court if a vacancy unexpectedly arises. The bill will likely face a good deal of opposition, including those who say term limits can't be implemented without a constitutional amendment. That's part of the reason why current justices won't be subjected to many of the proposed new rules. So I actually oppose, and I've said before, term limits, because a lot of times people like to say it's a way of the counter argument to it. My position is I think the voters should be the ones who determine how long somebody's in there. And one of the good things about not having them is there's not a push for political exceedancy. So a lot of people say the Supreme Court's more likely to vote the way they actually feel, versus, thinking that they're going to get votes off of voting a certain way because they're in there forever, or they're in there until they die or resign or retire. And what is so aggravating is that these types of bills, and I'm someone who likes Roe, I've done over 10 videos mostly praising him. I can't help but feel that if a Democrat, whether it was Hillary or Bernie, whoever the hell, had won in 2016 and put 2 progressives on the court and then was trying to put a third one on the court before this election in a month, I can't help but feel that Roe and these other Democrats would not be pushing for this bill. And one of the few things Roe and I strongly disagree on are term limits, because he also supports them for members of Congress, which that could be a whole other video. But yeah, I don't really like this that much, because I think the Supreme Court really is just kind of a place where people get mad because the people of their ideology aren't put on there. And like I said, the lower courts have way more cases, and the people who are on those get 10 times less coverage than the people on the Supreme Court, even though they do more work. So I'd like to see more attention paid to the lower courts than trying to make amendments to the Supreme Court, whether that's term limits or court packing, which this bill doesn't do, but it's also another thing that some Democrats have pushed.